matrix is everywhere. It is all around us.
I thought you were a fat.
I was a fed?
Yeah.
I'm not a fed.
About the USS Liberty.
No, you should be careful about that. It doesn't. Let me stop you there. It doesn't matter where the missile comes from.
Hello and welcome in to the third edition of The Circuit, hosted by myself and ZebBoykin, which we are waiting for ZebBoykin to come back, hoping that my audio sounds okay too. For many of you who are in my community know I've been MIA for the last 2 days, it feels like, working and reworking the audio system to be correct and functional. But we have a good episode in for today. We're waiting for Zeb to return real quick. We're going to be covering everything that is John Kirakou, I believe is how you say that. Perhaps I'm wrong. But again, this is this guy who has become ubiquitous over the last, really a lot over the last year, but especially in the last 3 months or so, with, in the last year, 25 distinct podcast appearances. This has kind of taken on its own kind of meme, if you will. And many of you who are on TikTok may be familiar with all of the voice edits and the different kind of storytelling that John Kirakou has been putting out. So we're going to cover this, give an idea of what our thoughts and opinions are. What is he pushing? What is he containing? Is he a fed? Is he not a fed? And everything in between. And so hopefully Zeb is back with us here shortly. Otherwise, we'll get started.
Obviously, he's a fed. Everyone's a fed except me. Atlas, this is easy work. This is light work. Stream over, move on to the next. Stream over, move on to the next to the next one. But yeah, we are going to be covering. Let me get you on screen. There we go. I was trying to make myself bigger. Technical boomer difficulties here, ladies and gentlemen. I want my face to be as big as that. I want my voice to be as deep as Atlas's.
Got a big head.
Giving Atlas a hard time, but yeah, we're going to be talking about John. I think it's Kirakou. If it's not, then maybe we should just deport him.
Right.
If I can't pronounce your last name, get out of here.
Well, what was funny was even Grok made note of it. I was looking up a bunch of data doing research, and even Grok was like, oftentimes in Kiri's it's spelled like this. It kept making notes of it, and it's like, so nobody really knows what to do.
But yeah, so I'm looking at the notes here. Atlas, you got a lot laid out. Do you want to kind of give a rundown on this is the Fed circuit, right? The circuit is what we call it, but it's the Fed circuit. It's set up with the essence of, hey, I guess the underlying premise of this podcast, the series that we're doing, is that if someone is given a platform on specific podcast or just a plethora of podcasts in general, as if they are being pushed intentionally, whether that's astroturfed or not, that there is someone on the inside kind of at least green lighting that at a minimum. And if not that, then they're not being stopped. So they're being allowed to do the thing, right? That's kind of the premise of when I say everyone's a fed except me. It's like anyone that has a massive audience that can control people, that can, filter information to people, they are at a minimum being used by the system. And so there's a lot that goes on with that concept itself, but that's kind of where I am. That's where I've been at for a long time now. And this is just the next one up as we go through a lot of this. And as you see in the intro, there's some specific podcasts that kind of kick a lot of this off. But do you want to go? I mean, he's like you said, he's done like 25, 26 different podcasts in like the last couple of months. Do you want to run through those real quick? Absolutely astroturfing hard.
Yeah, no, so this is kind of crazy. And so I was kind of learning about this as I was looking into it. I didn't realize it's kind of taken on a life of its own. And to pick off of where Zeb was at, we called the circuit because it used to be called the media circuit. That's kind of, he's doing the media circuit, if you will. Now that's kind of taken on a new form. Now we have podcasts. Now it's more of the podcast circuit that we have going on. But some of the opening stuff I had in the research, because, I'm just learning it from front to back, is in the last year. So from February 25th, 2025 until today, or that would have been yesterday, he's made, again, 25 distinct podcast appearances, not including his own show, which he has 2 of his own shows, and then he co-hosts with 2 other shows. So he's literally everywhere in the podcast circuit. But running through all of these, just some of the notable ones, because he did recur on a few of these different appearances here. Julian Dory, he's been on 4 times in the last year. He's been on Piers Morgan 3 times. Dalton Fisher, who I'm not familiar with, 2 times, and also the judge, Napolitano, 2 times as well. The judge I'm kind of less concerned with in this kind of environment. I do find the judge to be someone who is positioned to a certain degree. But as I was just kind of going through this, the first thing that sticks out to me, who's he been with the most? Julian Dory. Julian Dory is also somebody who I'm, again, not that familiar with. I've seen the clips that have circulated from him. And to me, it all kind of gives the similar vibes as like a Joe Rogan, if you will. Maybe a bit beyond there and a bit more of the kind of conspiratorial, less so like, social things. But that's the kind of vibe that I got from Julian Dory there. What I will say, though, is cataloging a lot of this, a couple of them, it didn't say it had a specified host, which seemed odd because it's a very easy thing to pick and pull from. So I did go and correct those. And notably, 2 of them that it said didn't have a host was Julian Dory. So in the initial count, it said he'd only been on Julian Dory's show twice. But after I corrected the dates, he's been on there 4, making him from the second most recurring to the most recurring. And so I was kind of curious to hear what Zeb's take on Julian Dory was. Who is this kind of person? If you have any more idea of who he is than I do.
No, I mean, I don't have a ton of idea about him personally. Obviously, I've come across him. These guys are more, not less so Joe Rogan, but more the Jack Neal, the Dory. There's another. I guess he's mixed. The one that comes out that I'm thinking about is the one with the Weinstein. What's it? I can't remember. Anyway, these guys are Lex Friedman type, not really personality. They're more of a platform themselves, right? They try to position themselves in a place where they're just not in the video. They're largely basic questions, some follow-up questions. There's no personality there. It's you can chalk it up as serious. I think it's more along the lines of casting the net as wide as they can and allowing these people to platform these other people, because repetition breeds belief, essentially. And so if we can create, I don't know, if we can create 30 Joe Rogans instead of 1 or 2, if we can create 30 Sean Ryans instead of 1 or 2, why wouldn't we? And instead of doing a podcast once every 6 months, we can do one every 2 weeks, which is essentially what we're at here. And so that's my take on these types of people, though I can't pin him specifically.
Yeah, I would say, in addition to everything you had said as well, there's an element of like the networking. So like some of these, like the podcasting guys obviously are friends with each other. You see this in places like Timcast IRL. You see it even here, like here at NAV. A guest who comes onto my show will be on Zeb's show very soon. And that's kind of like how it works, right? People get familiar with these things. Julian Dory, though, specifically does kind of have that air of a bit of a production on him. But again, I think the main point we should kind of drive home is like, who is John Kirakou, right? Like, what is his background? Like, why is this relevant? Why is he being pushed? I think most people probably have the idea that he is a former CIA officer, but I'll give you the laydown here of what maybe the 5 most important points of him are. And so beyond just being the former CIA officer, he's best known for being a whistleblower during the War on Terror. And so think of Zero Dark 30. And Zero Dark 30 was kind of in this moment where the waterboarding techniques from the CIA were being exposed and being Hollywoodified. But John Kirakou in 2007 is when he became a public figure, is when he actually came out. I think it was with ABC News. He gave this interview, which did confirm that the CIA was undergoing these torture techniques. But in addition to that, he's beyond being just a radio personality. He's written books. He's a journalist, columnist, all of those things, media kind of darling, if you will. But he's recruited to the CIA when he was getting his master's degree at George Washington University. And here's the part that stands out right there. He was recruited into the CIA by the professor at this university, Gerald Post, and he was a psychologist. He went on to later serve as a senior investigator for the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He advised then Chairman John Kerry. The reason why I want to bring that to attention now is because this is kind of where he is. He's not being brought out on the media circuit to talk about the CIA all the time. He's brought out very specifically as this kind of foreign intelligence analyst or a counterterrorism analyst, because this is where he cut his teeth when he was with the CIA. And so largely it's what he did for ABC News as well. And then in 2012 is when he served time for blowing the whistle. So they came back at him with the Intelligence Identities Protection Act and Espionage Act for being a whistleblower. And so he served just under 2 years in federal prison. But when he got out, they gave him an award, and he just continued his media journey from beyond there. And he was at the CIA for 14 years. And he ultimately did become chief of counter-terrorist operations in Pakistan. And he did lead raids, capturing Al-Qaeda members. So he's not somebody who's just been behind a desk. He's actually been physical as well and been on these locations, which adds to what we're getting now, which is becoming this meme, which is in addition to what he's saying about, maybe anti-Israel and kind of is the hottest topic with the Epstein files. On the other side of that fills up the other hour and a half of these interviews is him giving these stories of all these kind of crazy encounters they had in different operations while he was overseas or just in the military in general. And one of the ones that's taken a life on its own is this plumber. And this is a story about this plumber who had been harmed. There's other stories that come out from apparently he shot a warhead that wasn't set to designate. So when it landed and hit this guy, it looked like a telephone pole just going through somebody. So he's got all these kind of crazy stories, and it kind of adds to this nature of people wanting to hear more of him. And to me, he's very good at it. He's very charismatic and he's good at storytelling. But that's kind of where TikTok steps in, this new life of its own, all of these clips. And we have a couple we'll take a look at here of what the clips are that's circulating today. Both the ones that I find to be relevant in the political ecosystem, but also relevant in the idea of him being this kind of distraction or deflection. And it's funny because if you go to the recent YouTube comments of one of the more popular videos, all the top comments sit there and they go, if he's telling us this right now, imagine what the CIA is actually doing. And it seems to be this very common theme where everybody kind of already knows who and what he's doing and what purpose he serves.
Oh, is it not going to come up now? There it goes. All right, we can take a look at some of these real quick. Before we do, I want to give a shout out to Atlas. He's done the vast majority of the heavy lifting for this episode, as he does most of the time. Atlas is a very good planner, so shout out to Atlas. Everybody in chat, gives Atlas some support. If you're not following him, if you're not sub to him, go do that on YouTube and Twitter. But
I appreciate it.
Before we dive into this real heavy, we are monetized on YouTube for the Nav channel. Please go ahead and support us there. We are working with loosely on the Nav side, but I think Atlas and myself individually are working with some guys that are doing some metal machinery type work. And a lot of that's going to be coming soon. We're finally making a little bit of money here, Atlas. But right. Nav is supporting them. So if you would support Nav through memberships or super chats, we would greatly appreciate that. And everything that comes through Nav, it gets reinvested back into Nav. So it's not like we're all taking it and putting it in our pocket necessarily. I want Nav to be a vehicle as it has been for a little while, but actually boots on the ground. So hopefully we can get to a point where it does that. So chat, we greatly appreciate any and all support from that. If you're gonna do it, if you're gonna support somebody, just support somebody that's not a Fed. That's a baseline. Can we start there? But as Atlas mentioned, right, we'll take a look at some of these comments. If he's telling us this, I can't imagine what kind of shit they're actually doing. This sounds so weird without the voice edit. This sounds so weird without the voice edit.
You're right, because they're poking fun of all the TikTok edits that have these weird voice things on it. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned one thing and said that he was really good at storytelling. I mean, I'm not a spy, I'm not a Fed, right? But if I was, and I was trying to build up some skills to be good at that, you know what I would build up, Atlas?
What's that?
Some bullshit and storytelling. That's where my skill points, my skill tree, that's what I would build up. Bullshitting, con artist, storyteller. That's where
max out charisma.
Max out charisma. You can go the Lex Freeman route and just avoid it completely, or you can go the John Kirakou route and just invest everything into that section.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. What's funny you say that, because this is kind of ties into like the ethos and the looks maxing, just kind of like lookism, just general kind of themes here. And it made me think of, there's a funny video you can find, I believe it's Fallout 4, where a guy plays through he finishes the game without actually doing anything violent, doesn't shoot a gun.
It's all
because he maxed out his charisma. So he just talks to everybody. And he's like, why don't you just give me that instead of me even have to pay for it? And they're like, you know what? I will just give this to you. It's like, you Jedi mind trick. It's kind of a cheat code.
That's pretty good. I feel like I saw that. I thought it was luck. Maybe it was charisma. If it was charisma, basically the same thing. It's probably if you max out luck, it's basically just charisma.
Right.
I don't know why my thing is being difficult today to see this screen. There we go. We just got to double press it every time. CIA taking control of cars? Question mark. I knew those speeding tickets weren't my fault. The most
funny.
dangerous.
The next one down is important though.
The most dangerous terrorist in the world, or at least what the CIA deems to be the most dangerous terrorist in the world. That qualifier doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is kind of what I was beginning to notice here, which is seemingly like the big differentiation. I'm not even going to try to say it correctly. Was he's here for all of this counterterrorism, right? Which, if you look back at all the operations he was taking out, he was largely serving as an asset for the CIA to be counter-Islam, very specifically, and even beyond just like, counter-jihad, very specific in the Middle East and in the foreign element. And so, you serve 14 years doing this, but where he's at now in the last few months, maybe you could go to a year or so, he's been a lot more oppositional to Israel. Now, the part that's the huge kicker here, and it's one of the clips that we have in here, is he's almost making an argument and setting up the stage so that people, obviously believe him and find him trustworthy. But the point in the argument he's pushing is that everyone in the CIA also doesn't like the Mossad. And this was kind of a very distinct argument he was making, where he's gone his entire career actually going against Islam and jihad, didn't say a word, clearly, doesn't talk about it, much of his past on that. But where he's at now is anti-Mossad, anti-Israel, but also, don't worry, me and the guys make fun of Mossad at the CIA headquarters too. And it's kind of this very unbelievable argument here. But I found that to be like the most distinct thing here in the whole bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's somebody said I trust Kirakou in the chat. I'm assuming that is sarcastic. If it's not, then I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, this guy. I mean, Atlas laid out his background and where he was in the CIA, and just we need to understand that the people that make these decisions, that allow these people to keep talking. I mean, just think about Boeing, right? Boeing had like 12 whistleblowers come out. Was this like a year and a half, 2 years ago now? You remember that?
Yep.
And they just disappeared. They just disappeared, Atlas. Where'd they go? I don't know where they went. They just disappeared. It's like you're telling me Boeing has more control over whistleblowers leaking information than the CIA does. Let's not do this. I mean, we can argue that Boeing and CIA are essentially one and the same also, but that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, all that being listen, Raytheon, what's it? I was about to say Aston Martin. What's the other airplane
Lockheed.
people? Lockheed. I'm thinking of another one. Anyway, but they all work together with the upper echelons, military intelligence and everything. And so that's what we're dealing with. And to think that they're just allowing Kirakou and any of these other claimed CIA agents to just run around and literally do the circuit to spill information, it's like, stop, don't bullshit me, man. Like we can have a conversation here, right? But
Yeah,
you know,
well, I think that was like the funniest part, and so for people might not get this, but especially for me and Zeb, I know Zeb will understand this. Like if I'm making a video and I'm like super focused on a very topical thing, your algorithm will start to reflect that. And so like for me, if I'm covering like a lot of something about like, I wanted to cover a video about how headphones make you gay. Right. This is kind of like the whole new frogs make you gay type thing, or the water's making the frogs gay. And so all I'm seeing nonstop is everything about headphones. And so I find often that things like this end up falling out of my purview, if you will, because like I get so algorithmically like restricted to like certain types of content. And so I'm kind of like learning of this like for the first time. And to see that the whole TikTok community's kind of already decided, like, yeah, we know he's lying to us, but man, these stories are funny. And all the edits that come out of that is like, it's crazy. And here's the big point too. This guy specifically started going a lot more viral and ubiquitous on TikTok, literally like the day after the Ellisons bought it. So if that's not like a big, like, question mark, I don't know what is. Because we know everybody else who's been banned and eliminated off TikTok, but this guy's allowed to roam free. And so to me, that's a huge red flag.
absolutely. We're gonna get into some of this stuff. I'm having a difficult time getting it to pull up on screen, but maybe I'll figure that out here in a second. We'll try to work around. Me and Atlas were going back. Who should host? Maybe I should have just passed it off to him. No, I was going to mention. We're looking at. I pulled up a tweet from Mike that you had here. It says John Kirakou is funny, but that brother is still 100% handled by the agency, which is completely on board with where we're at. There's one from Rush on Twitter. He says it's been how many months since the full U.S. takeover of TikTok, and one of the most popular people on the app right now is John Kirakou, LMAO. I mean, so everybody understands like where we're at. Everybody understands what's actually going on, but it's like, okay, we'll just deal with it. We'll accept it because it's funny.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of in a unique position where I do think that because of the last couple of years, the recent events, I do think we have reached essentially critical mass, whether it's between, the actions of October 7th, just Israel at large in general, the Charlie Kirk assassination, the Epstein files. I think we're in this unique position where a lot of people are like, they are aware of what's happening. Maybe they don't say as much, or maybe they only like posts. They don't really say much, but it's a unique position because now we're kind of all sitting here thinking, well, what's the next step? We're all watching it happen. We're poking fun of it as it happens, but what's the next actionable step from here? Like, what can you even do about it? Is the future, the solution is just to watch it as it happens and get better at predicting who's the next kind of, Fed asset who comes out? I don't know, but it's kind of funny just seeing how everyone's on the same page.
I mean, that's really what it seems like. We were talking about some of these TikTok edits. We'll go ahead and take a look at one of them here, if I can get it pulled up. Boom, bang,
then I get a call from my buddy, who's the actual chief. And he said, listen, we're going to have to kill this operation. I said, what? Why? It's going well. He said, no. They just gave him
orders to kill you in the next meeting.
Well, to this janitor. Things like murder, rape.
Dude, is the gay one on here? That's one of my favorite ones. He was like, yeah, I had to be gay for like 2 years.
I don't know if I've seen that one. I hope
really?
It is.
I'll have to find it.
Robbery.
Bestiality.
And the guy says, what was that last one? And my friend says, I knew I had him. He goes, bestiality. The guy says, what's that mean? And my friend says,
it's actually very common.
He says, everybody does it. It's having sex with an animal. And the guy says,
I may have done that 3 times.
I said, you're a dog, you know that? You're like an animal. I said, you're an old man. You're
older than my father, I told him.
And you're banging women to get information from them? He's like,
this is the life we've chosen for ourselves.
Guys, what do we do for a living here? This guy's a bona fide terrorist. He's ordered to kill me, then he's gonna
kill you, and he's gonna kill you next, and he's gonna kill you after that.
We gonna stop these guys or not?
Is that it? Yeah, that was it. That was a full thing. But dude, solid edits, dude. Hilarious. But I mean, that's the thing that gets traction. I mean, he is a good storyteller, and there's no denying that. But yeah, I mean, I would say that leads to the idea that he is a bullshitter, that he is a liar to some extent. Obviously, not everybody that's a good storyteller is, but it's like, you see all these things. It's like this guy's lived 10 lives. It's like at some point we got to recognize, okay, not all of this shit happened.
Yeah. Well, especially like when you're in this kind of position, like especially in the CIA as well. I think there is probably a bit of like that camaraderie that comes with it. Just like, you're in the CIA, you are kind of like a butt of a joke at the end of the day for the guys who do it willingly. And at a certain point as well, like when you wear so many faces, you've been to prison so many times, you've written all these books on different topics. Like, he kind of does have that touch of the old grandfather who's got a bajillion stories to tell. And every time he tells them, he always tells them a different way. And sometimes this is just what happens when you do so much in life. You just have a lot to kind of pull from. But again, there could be an argument to be made there, how much of it's actually pure BS, how much of it's being exacerbated, and how much of it's actually like legitimate.
Absolutely. Let's see if I can get this clip pulled up here.
Then I get a call from my buddy who's the actual chief. And he said, listen, we're going to have to kill this operation.
We could listen to
I said, what?
Why? A couple times if you wanted to. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Let me try this. Let me try this one. God, dude. We'll just cancel the stream since I can't figure it out.
We're working.
It's going to load as a question.
I'm wondering if I can share my screen. You want me to do
that? If you can, that would be great. You can, can't you? Let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
That would work 10 times better. I don't know why it does this sometimes. Let me go ahead and create a new one.
Let me grab this one. Let me put it on the other screen here. So you can get it nice in 1920.
Go ahead and like the stream while you're sitting here, even though our technical problems are occurring.
So this is, I just shared it. Hopefully you can pull it up.
Boom, bang, pow. Make it work.
And so this is from our good friend Mr. Lord Miles, and he writes here: former CIA officer John Kirakou spoke about Assad, the Israeli intelligence agency. No CIA officer I worked, I'm assuming with, had a positive experience with the Mossad. Overwhelmingly negative. Quote, we stopped inviting them to CIA headquarters because they kept trying to bug our conference rooms. Quote, they demand we share everything with them and try to steal information to see if we're hiding anything from them, but we aren't allowed to spy on them. Quote, the CIA officers working in and with Israel came back to their apartment and found that their dog's tail had been cut off. End quote, nobody in the CIA trusts the Mossad. So this was what I was talking about earlier, referencing, and Lord Miles just kind of pulled a bunch of different quotes from some of these interviews. This is a common theme from what he's pushing in a lot of these interviews when he's speaking about Israel, Epstein, the Mossad, the ties. And all of it's, to me, an attempt to get people to think, oh, there's this element in the CIA that's resistant to Mossad. Oh, okay, the CIA is like the good guys. Oh, okay, like they're actively, like they know what's going on too. Like, so, okay, it's not them. And it's kind of, they're trying to drive this separation again. And for the purpose of lying to you to say that there's anything separate really of a wing of the CIA and the Mossad, when we know how well they work together and in tandem. And I would even say the broader argument from that, or the more specific argument from that, is that they don't work together. It's that the CIA was co-opted through a long series and a successful series of Mossad operations. And ultimately where we have today, the CIA is a puppet of the Mossad.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I'm trying to think about, what's the actual play here? Why are, and it kind of aligns with where I've been positioned on with was it the Club of Cost, right? The Club of Cost, what was the point of the Club of Cost was to increase anti-Semitism across the youth, more anti-Semitism. We need more anti-Semitism. Why are we going to war with Iran? We need more anti-Semitism. Let's brew on it for a little bit. Why are we releasing the Epstein files? More anti-Semitism, right? I think they're priming the vast majority of the population to be put in a position where that they can, just like recently in Florida, where we've had an introduction of essentially a Jewish police force at a state level, right? And so if we're having that and we're increasing anti-Semitism across the board. We'll quote all of this, all of the anti-Semitism words in quotes here. But, as we go through this, that's what I'm thinking. It's like, if this is a long play, let's Mossad bad, right? When at the end of the day, we know that they're essentially one and the same. And so even if they come out and they say, okay, we're not working with Mossad anymore, the CIA has quit working with Mossad, we're not doing that anymore on down the road, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, they're still in the CIA. It's not like there's some separate organization. The question is, why is the CIA working with Mossad so directly? It seems like all the time, like this is a normal thing, which kind of proves my point as we continue on down this road. There is no difference between the CIA, Mossad, MI6. I would even say the KGB at some point. So this is what we're working with. And so I think that's kind of the end goal, right? How Mossad bad. Send the CIA guy out there to tell some stories about being gay and bestiality and whatever else he was talking about, and get him some TikTok fame.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned the anti-Semitism police, because I think that for a lot of people, they probably had their socks blown off if they watched Tyler Oliveira's most recent video, where they do actually have their own, in-house anti-Semitism forces, their own Jewish police, if you will. And I think for a lot of people, it's extremely eye-opening. And that's basically what I was been making the video about earlier before we got to the stream, actually. So I'm kind of thinking, like, if these are connected at all. And, this Nick Shirley supporting Tyler Oliveira, like, not giving an F, has been going at everybody today, which is actually pretty cool to see. And I'm curious, is there something in here that's tied or connected, right? Is there, and to the point of Zeb, is this the point? Are they trying to, is Tyler Oliveira going to be another one of these fall guys? Like, he's driving anti-Semitism. You can see the difference in the way that he has always been treated compared to Nick Shirley, even though they were doing similar things. And I think the reason why that it became such a firestorm today, or I guess I should say earlier, is because Nick Shirley endorsed Tyler Oliveira. And so, like, I'm going to make the point later on today, part of my thoughts just running through this was maybe the expectation was that they were trying to groom Shirley, but from a distance. And they're seeing him now support the person that they don't want him to be like, is now kind of thrown that whole plan into the gutter. And I think we've talked at length on Nick Shirley. I think others also had the same kind of thoughts, given when he came about. It was like, video drops 3 days after the third batch of Epstein files comes out. So a lot of people were really hands off on Shirley early on. This has kind of thrown a wrench into the system. And I'm curious, where Zeb's at, given the kind of recent revelations.
Matter of fact, I think we should do an episode on Nick Shirley, the Fed circuit. He hasn't necessarily gone on the Fed circuit, though he did hit some big podcasts along the way with, like, Patrick Bet-David and a couple of others. But I don't know if you know this. I don't know if we talked about this, but Nick Shirley was the last person on the Charlie Kirk show before his assassination.
Yeah. And I think very specifically, they talked about, like, what was it, like gang violence or something?
Gang violence. And then they played a video of the gang violence, and it was a dude that had a bullet literally stuck inside of his skin on the edge. It's like, give me the coincidence on that, dog. Give me the coincidence on that. That's like a 0, 0, 0, 0. Give me a couple more zeros.
Right,
on that.
exactly.
It's like,
you have all those, it becomes astronomical at a certain point. And I think when people make those kind of basic mathematic things in their head, the calculus, I mean, you immediately are, like, affronted to it. I kind of don't know really where to go on this thing with Nick Shirley, because I wasn't expecting to see anything like that. And I think obviously when you get Laura Loomer and everyone else seething at you.
I think a lot of times, and I can go to the tapes with this, because obviously recently he went on an apology tour, and we did a video on that. He went on an apology tour. I got tech teams in Israel. Tristan Tate comes out. He says, I got an Israeli girlfriend. I got tech teams in Israel. We got tech teams in Israel. It's like, okay. Have you always had tech teams in Israel? Were you always a plant? A lot of people were kind of on board with that from the very beginning, and I would say more than likely so. But along that same line of Nick Shirley, we're talking about the kind of maybe stepping over the line that Shirley is doing. I think that is probably what's happening here with back in Tyler Oliveira. I thought Nick Shirley's not the brightest person out there, and so because of that, I don't think he knows what the boundaries actually are. And he's getting a lot of backlash from Laura Loomer, because he retweeted Tyler Oliveira, I believe, and then Laura Loomer posted this long thing, and then Nick Shirley was like, "Yeah, I support what he's doing. Fraud is fraud. I'm not anti-Semitic." And that's the line that they play. And it's like I said on the show Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't remember when I said it, but I basically said that it doesn't matter if you're anti-Semitic. It doesn't matter if you hate Jews. It doesn't matter if you criticize Israel. At the end of the day, if you are disparaging or painting in a negative light any Jew, then all Jews are going to come after you for being anti-Jewish or anti-Semitic or racist or whatever. It doesn't matter because that's the framework that they put them in. And I guess to kind of bring this thing full circle. Anyway, I think Nick Shirley got a little bit further than his leash. He'll get yanked back. Something will happen here pretty soon. But to bring it back full circle, it's like John Kirakou is the one that's out there, running this circuit. He's doing exactly what this podcast was intended to point out, and to increase the Mossad, the anti-Mossadism, if you will. Right.
And notably, the one that I added in there that there's a quote tweet of, because he did Kirakou, whatever you want to say. He did not quote, but he gave a endorsement to James Fishback. And the reason I even noticed that was because Asuka Groiper, one of the Groipers, I know you don't like Asuka, they quoted and had an older clip of John Kirakou giving his take on Nick Fuentes. And so
I watched that.
Just there, did you see it? So you already know he's containment to the level of, it's just Israel, right? So you could put him in the same.
No, he said he wouldn't platform, because he has his own podcast. He said he wouldn't platform Nick because. What did he say? Do you have a
loudmouth kid? I think is what he said, right?
Well, he was like, I wouldn't platform him because of hate, because he's racist.
Something like that.
Do you have the clip? Let's pull up the clip. Let's see if we can watch it.
I think I have it. It's number 2.
Yeah. You got you're sharing screen.
Oh, my bad.
It's not going to let me pull it up unless I can download it, but I don't think I can.
No, I can. I'm going to stop and reshare because I got to make sure I'm sharing my audio.
All right, go for it. But yeah, so that's what he's talking about. And I mean, everybody knows my position on Nick, but I think that this is what I was going to bring up, actually. And I thank you for reminding me. This was kind of the clip that kind of pushed us in the direction of John. And I want to make note of this because I think it is meaningful. The people that we know, that we have confirmed, that I have confirmed, that are actually currently feds doing podcasts, one being Paramount Tactical, I would throw Barron in there, and a few others. They had this weird obsession with like overly following the rules, right? So when I went on Paramount Tactical, when Gary, what's the Gary's last name? Anyway, Paramount Tactical's podcast, he like gave like a 5-minute spiel before the podcast even began about, hey, be nice in chat. Don't call each other names. Don't say bad words. We don't need to be like that. I mean, this guy is an active, paid by the federal government, not just contract work, which he does that too, but he's got like 6 to 8 people that are literally working currently with the government to train shooters, to train I don't know who exactly they train. I think it's special forces, but like that's what they do. And John Kirakou is kind of in that same camp where it's like, oh, we really need to be nice to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wait, no, like, can we not call out bullshit? Well, that's the point though, right? That's the point, is to create a safe space where they're in a bubble so that they can say what they need to say, bullshit everybody, and then block anyone that objects to it.
Well, so this is like what I would say is definitional postulating. And so what I mean by that, postulating, I won't explain the whole definition, but the point of it is you're presenting the truth, right? That this is kind of like the base concept of when you postulate. And that's kind of what I see with Kirakou, which is It's not, they go, okay, you're right. Israel is a problem. But what we need to make sure is we don't let this fall into being racist. And so what they're doing is they're presenting it as like okay, you're right. But because they're doing that, okay, now trust me on the second thing, right? Trust me on what is attached to the statement, which is there's no race realism. Come back to the plantation, if you will. And that is kind of what I do see here, which is we're going to give you a few inches of ground, but we're going to put the fence back up over here. You cannot cross this point. And that's how I see a lot of these guys. And I'm sure you do too.
Yeah. JR's in the chat. He says, I got booted from that stream later on. Somebody else said, Marcus says it was really weird. Laura says, yep, remember when you went on there saying, when he was saying that, your face was like, seriously, dude? I want to go back and watch it just to kind of show everyone where, what was going on. Like that's what these people are doing. And so if you come across a space like that, a live stream or a video or YouTube, it's like, these people are no different than the extreme left that have to create these little bubbles, no different than the Trump administration, no different than the people that have to just circle jerk their way through life. And they do this because they are insulated. They're insulated with money. They're insulated with a job, with not being threatened from the top down. And so they just have a little happy place that they create, and nobody's racist. And you can criticize Israel, but God forbid you say that they're a monolith. Because if you say they're a monolith, we will ban you. We will strike you down.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let's get there. Let's use a little bit of logic to figure this thing out. But this is the Fed circuit, and this is a video.
I would go even beyond that with I think there's a lot of reasons that you could say that are like, why are they so protective of this? And I think, there's a bunch of answers are correct. But if you were asking me, I think that the truest answer to the end of that is the reason why they have to maintain such an insanely, psychologically, dampening level of, defense force around, no one can mention the Jews, to the point that people spell it with 2 O's, right? The Jews, right? Is I do think that there's a strong element of this is the truth of the world. And if you were able to apply the actual actions of what the Jewish communities are doing, then reattach that back to Christianity, and then you look at things through the lens of the biblical lens of what is actually truth, life, and all of it. For a lot of people, that would be almost enough. That would almost be enough of confirmation of God is real. You're seeing it playing out. You can connect verses to literal people who are behaving this way. And part of the reason why they obfuscate all these things, to me, I think is a huge element, because they want to put this massive block on Christianity. And I think when you see that in their writings, you see it from, the people who invest heavily into pornography, the whole reason why they even got into it, the driving force of why they want to push it onto America. To me, I think the bigger answer lies in the fact of their pure hatred for Christ, for Christianity. And I think in that is the reason why they want to make sure that no one really has an idea of what's actually happening.
No, absolutely. That is the core of, and that's what my stream is for. And largely that's what your stream is for too, is to kind of get the truth out there. And we come to it. I had a point. Real APEC got me a little sidetracked. He said, "Don't say the J word. Say Jew." I'm not gonna do the. I'm not gonna do the face. I'm not gonna do the face. But people like Henry Ford literally spent millions and millions of dollars into researching where this is coming from, where in history this is coming from, why are these people here, what are they trying to do. We publish a book, The International Jew, and then now it's like that book doesn't exist. Henry Ford loses his company, essentially. Henry Ford paying his workers like twice, maybe 4 times the going rate at the time, gets sued by the Doge brothers, which are Jews, and I'm sorry, Dodge brothers, and it's like time after time after time after time, and it's like we have to relearn this thing. Like, we don't have to relearn this thing. Like, I don't need Hitler to come to the same conclusion that the people prior to Hitler came to. You know what I mean? And I'm not a huge fan of the Hitler worship. I'm not anti-Hitler by any stretch, but we need to. This is kind of me speaking to whoever wants to listen at this point. We need to back off Hitler a little bit and just take this thing as it is as a whole. And then I think the edging Hitler has gotten us here. I think we need to let go of it a little bit and open our mind to what the reality actually is. Not saying that he was wrong, but that the attachment is hindering the progress.
And I think on a lot of ends, right? And what's is funny because it's like I hear you. Yeah, it sounds like, am I talking to Nick Fuentes right now? The point in there too, which is I think, and I agree.
Tell
with
him
you.
call in, dude. Tell him call in. Y'all act like I hate Nick. I don't hate Nick. I just think he's compromised on positions that don't need to be compromised on. But anyway,
no, I get it.
I'm not.
No, I get it.
Either,
I get it. That's funny, but it's correct in the fact because I think this is definitional to like why the dissident right has so much infighting happening, and it is because it's gone mainstream, where it used to be a lot smaller crowd who was having a lot more mature conversations. So when somebody was sending like a Hitler edit or something to that effect, the person receiving it wasn't immediately going like, I need to go buy Hugo Boss and go march around in my street in Walmart. It's like, that's not what we're getting. But when you get the individuals like Ken AKO and others down the line who are going beyond, who aren't having a mature conversation, who are quite literally pushing a bit more into this kind of Hitler worship, it takes away from everything that was building up to that conversation, which is, if we were to look at it in the purest sense, and I know the guys from Stone Choir say this all the time, part of the reason why things are so hard is because Hitler failed. And I don't say that as because like, boo, Hitler failed, but because this is the reality we live in, right? We're living in the fact that the Allied forces won, the globalists won, the liberal Jewish world order won. And that's kind of like what we're reverse engineering now. How do we get out of the situation we're in?
No, I completely get it. From our vantage point, at least in the modern world, I mean, Hitler was the most successful at doing what essentially needs to be done to some extent. I mean, let's assume it didn't happen. Okay, let's assume it didn't happen. And I mean, he was the closest one to give them their own little state. Maybe we should have put them on an island to start with. But anyway, all that being said, it's all one and the same conversation here. This is exactly what we're talking about. Is John Kirakou completely captured from the inside? And to deny it, I mean, I don't understand how you do a couple decades in the CIA, get out, go on a podcast tour, and it's like, okay, how are you not still associated with these people? Like that's just mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
Eric with a 5, he says, my take, they are trying to gatekeep, but the internet had knocked down too many walls, fences. It's become obviously disingenuous. Yeah, and they're trying to recapture it, which is what Ellison is doing with TikTok. Is what Mark Zuckerberg has been trying to do with Threads on top of Twitter. But I do also think Twitter is more of a military op than a Jew controlled. Those are basically the same thing. But well,
they're kind of in a free fall, right? Like Charlie Kirk used to represent the line, right? Like Charlie Kirk was the line. It was like that. You don't go anywhere beyond Charlie Kirk. It was like that's basically as far right as all acceptable, categorical positions could be. And I think the reason why there's a bit of flailing here is because there's really no one else in the space that's able to set the line. Oh, I can full screen it real quick. Let me do that.
No, you're good. You're good. No, unfull screen it.
Oh, unfull screen it.
Yeah. I'm over here.
But I just think, though, in the sense that the reason why they're so harsh against Tucker is because he was someone who'd been in the space for a long period, but is actually giving them the opposite of what they would want to be getting from him. And I think for a lot of people, Tucker's positioning is still very confusing. And I think most people have kind of decided that there's maybe some kind of third, or tertiary foreign element or influence that he may be operating under as well. And I think when you take
the
Kirk
Qatar element is what you're saying.
Yeah, the Qatar element, or possibly even Russia as well. I've seen those takes too. But it provides for this very nebulous space now where everybody knows at home, it's like, okay, well, Nick is what's being looked at as like he's taking over. They tried pushing Breland Hollyhand. That was never going to go anywhere. Nick Shirley came out and provided them a kind of an organic, seemingly, boost and someone that they could kind of rally around, which is where I'm kind of looking at. Maybe they were seemingly trying to groom him from a remote position, from the lens of Charlie Kirk, because they were so hands-on with Charlie Kirk, they left a trail, which is what Candace Owens is doing with the investigations, which is what's driving this even more. And so when I see all of this, there is something there where I go, is all of this in an attempt to find like the one, if you will? They're trying to put a ring on it. They're trying to find who is this conservative male that will be able to exist in this space that people will look up to, who is charismatic enough to defend themselves against Nick. And I think they're finding out the answer is nobody, which is maybe why you're getting Kirakou.
Send me a paycheck and put me on the circuit, and we can figure something out.
Right. All those positions I had, don't have them.
Whoopsie daisy. But I mean, would I take that? Probably. I would be proven completely right. I would be proven entirely correct.
Apology tour. Be like,
Apology
I gotta
tour.
say, guys,
let's do it.
Candace Owens, she had me twisted. I was believing it, and I want to, you got to blame somebody, dude. You got to put it out on
somebody.
Yeah. But yes, this video here, this is the one that we were referencing earlier, which is with Julian Dory. That's the individual here as well. But it's Kirakou kind of rehashing his position on Nick, if you will.
Audio. Still not feeding.
Can you hear it?
Is that on my end? No,
you're not hearing it.
Audio. I wonder if that's on. Maybe.
Still nothing.
No. Nope, not working. Gay. Let me see if I can figure something out real quick. Go ahead and say words.
Word. I can say words. I can say lots of words. Well, I guess while Zeb's figuring that out to get the audio worked over, I guess the more so the point of this is, and when anytime anybody obviously comes into this space, everyone's basically playing this guessing game of what's going on. And one other thing I guess I'll mention here too is that he was on InfoWars with Alex Jones last year, in addition to everything else he was a part of. But one of those things is he was appealing specifically to Christians for what is happening in Israel. And I think that I've seen a few posts as well going a bit more viral of he's like a Greek Orthodox. I'm not sure. I've only seen like one thing, so nothing else to corroborate that with. And so he's kind of touching on all of the elements that you would expect somebody would, right? Similar to like a fishback, right? He's saying all of the right things. The only difference is when you're a CIA officer, no one's going to believe you. Like you have that going against you. But I also just don't pick up on the just natural genuineness that I do from fishback. Fishback, I'm much less suspect of now. But Kirakou being recently on the scene, he still kind of has this. There's something about it. There's something to it.
The reason why
that you
I wouldn't have had
those other talents. What happens when you have those other talents?
I think we do need to hash out Fishback too, dude. I don't think we've done that, and I need to look into him a little bit more. But dude, I'm less and less convinced every day, to be honest with you.
Really
So,
interesting.
yeah.
I'm going the opposite.
Yeah, I think we need to have that conversation. But yeah, this is John Kirakou.
the reason why I wouldn't have had Nick Fuentes. Well, it's severalfold. And a part of this is obviously my own bias. I see him as just some kid. He's just some loudmouth kid. And many of his positions have been definitively debunked by historians over the years.
Should be easy podcasting, Atlas.
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are still people alive who liberated Dachau, for example, or Bergen-Belsen or whatever. And I just don't see how it's possible that his base of support grows from what it is. And what it is a bunch of angry white guys in their 20s. So I just don't see what good it would do me to interview somebody like him. That's why I wouldn't do it.
If you look at it objectively, just like 30,000 foot view of why he's risen or whatever it is, obviously he is a very good speaker.
He is. He's very bright.
He's very bright for sure.
Mhm.
He has a sense of humor as well.
Mhm.
He can talk to the camera for
He's
hours
disarming,
at a time.
actually.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm. That's the first time I ever saw him at any length in an interview, and I was like, oh, he's actually a likable guy at first glance.
At first glance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's
I'll tell you what, dude. You know, and look, we're running with the assumption that that he's a Fed. Obviously, obviously, I'm not saying they all get orders directly down. Hey, don't have Fuentes on because XXXXX. It's like, here's a list of people we need to stay away from. Let's do that. We'll send you an updated list in 6 months. And, Fuentes is on that list, right? Because, I mean, my position is that I think Fuentes is compromised also. But,
Right.
I think that communication isn't always up to date. One, it's, we're assuming that these people stay on top of everything all the time. And it's just not the case. And so I think he was given the list of Fuentes is on there. Fuentes bad. It's like, do you think John Kirakou, if I had another, I don't know, 150, if I was pushing like 200K subs, you think John Kirakou would have me on?
No.
Okay, so it's
No.
like, I mean, he probably would, not knowing my positioning, if I was still flying on the radar, but I doubt it. But that's kind of the point, though, right? That the point is to keep, as he said in essentially his own words, I don't want to platform Nick Fuentes to aid in his following primarily because of young white dudes in their 20s.
Well, listen, this is why I know he's not, whatever you want to say, this is why I know he's just not our guy. Because of what you had just said there. You even could say, I'm oppositional to Nick Fuentes. I disagree with him. I think he's compromised on some positions. But you would never describe like his audience or the people who side with him as just a bunch of angry young white dudes, right? Like that rhetoric alone and by itself, like you would probably even say something, you'd be like, his followers are brown or something, right? Like because at least you would have been a bit more in the know of like Fuentes. But that's how I know when somebody uses that language, a bunch of young, just angry white guys, is it's like, okay, you're at least, I don't know what you are, but you're not our guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what they fear at the top and that's what they fear. Somebody made a post on Twitter not too long ago, and it was a video of Woodstock 99, right? And it was a video of I can't remember who was playing, but it was Woodstock, and there was hundreds of thousands of people there. And their theory was, when the elites saw this, they understood that they can never allow this to happen again, because it would be unstoppable. There's nothing that they could do with a unified, youthful, white, European, male army, if you will, right? There's no way they can stop that. It's impossible. It's been stopped before, but by other white young males, right? So that's when things go kinetic, if they go kinetic, that's the core of it. Who has more young white angry men? And so he gives the game away here, dude.
The reason why I wouldn't have had Nick Fuentes, well, it's severalfold. And a part of this is obviously my own bias. I see him as just some kid. He's just some loudmouth kid.
Mm.
Oh, did we start over? Whoops.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
He is a very good speaker. 1980s.
That's right.
And you see my macro theory on the wolf coming in the hen house or something. That's how it happened.
At first glance.
At first glance.
Yeah.
So there's ways, like, if you wanted to look at it like, oh, the wolf coming in the hen house or something, that's how it happens when you have those other talents. But when society gets to a point, this is just my macro theory on it, but you look at a middle class that has been legislated away economically like
That's
that
right.
in a graph since the beginning of the 1980s.
That's right.
And you see chaos and chaos and chaos and chaos and chaos and lack of hope. and people who are upset about their lives. They're carrying around college debt because they were sold a system when they were 15 and had no fucking idea what it meant. You turn that emotion in somewhere, and you turn it into point it at the fingers of the elite people, regardless of where they stand, that you don't like. And when you have someone like Nick Fuentes, who, regardless of how he does it or what he says, speaks to that kind of crowd and does it very effectively, that is how you get something like that to happen. And also, this needs to be said because we've seen this on every side of all these issues, whether you're pro or anti, pick your favorite issue here. There are massive propaganda bot campaigns supporting both sides.
You're
That includes
absolutely
him.
right. Yes, which is also dangerous and completely unregulated.
What do we do about that?
I don't know. Can you do
Any
anything
propaganda
about it?
regulation?
Like, you could pass a law saying,
What do you do about unregulated bots, Atlas?
We got to regulate them.
We got to regulate it, dude. I'm the CIA whistleblower. We gotta regulate everything.
Yeah, more of the rule following, like you mentioned with the other guys, being on their
man.
P's and Q's.
no more bots, and the Chinese are going to laugh and laugh.
Oh, the Chinese.
The Russians,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right,
I don't
China and
know
Russia
if
for
there's
sure.
anything you can do.
Yeah, them.
China and Russia
It's
for
always
sure.
them.
Dude.
It's the communists, man.
This is the Tricoms. It's the globalist. But yeah, I want to touch on a couple of chats real quick. Moto said Woodstock 99 was a disaster, and then somebody else said something about Woodstock. OG Woodstock generation is what cooked our country in our religion and us. I want to talk about those two concepts, right? Because I mentioned Woodstock 99 and the idea behind it. It's not that I am praising Woodstock. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is that thing that motivated them is what stopped them from conquering literally the globe. And so if you can harness those same types of people and orient that focus towards something that's actually fixing the system for them, for themselves, that is what is dangerous to them, not just simply getting together, right? If we get a couple 100,000 people together smoking pot, what's going to get done? A little bit more pot smoking.
Right.
It's not what do they call it? Goy nip. That dude, whoever came up with that is a banger. Was that Epstein?
I don't know, man. I have no idea. I just remember seeing the meme. Just going up with a jar of weed.
Nailed it. But yeah,
it's really good.
I mean, Kirakou still within the ballpark. Hey, bots bad. Let's regulate it. It's and I haven't watched a ton of his stuff, but I'm assuming there's a lot that falls in this same ballpark. It's very limited hangout. Give you what you want to hear. Mossad bad, and then slide in some garbage.
Well, to your point though about Woodstock, I mean, think about what happened to Occupy Wall Street. It's exactly kind of what Julian Dory was saying, that the energy has to be directed somewhere. And when you had Occupy Wall Street, it was this very, it was like more of the kind of class-based, economical, very kind of pointed towards the elites. But what is the turnout? What is the consequence to? Well, the end result was everyone started screaming about race, right? All of a sudden racial issues get thrown in. The pink people come in, right? The early SJWs. And so they redirected it, all of the anger towards the system, they redirected it into all these other channels, which is now what we know as like DEI. That's kind of what was born out of Occupy Wall Street, was all this woke stuff. Granted, it was there before, but it took that direction because the government was intentionally spreading, along with the media class as well, but intentionally injecting all of this kind of woke garbage in terms of like racism, sexism, the intersectionality, in a hope that it would be enough to deride and deflect people and get their attention off the ball. And then it did ultimately devolve and, into something worse. And you could see the same thing happening with the Tea Party movement. The Tea Party movement was a bit more of a flash in the pan than even Occupy Wall Street was. And in every single time, it does get separated on some kind of very specific issue. With the Tea Party movement, I think that kind of what came out about the Tea Party movement is the Libertarian Party actually had a big break. The Libertarian Party ended up, like closed borders libertarians, open border libertarians. And so each path you kind of see unification of show up, you'll find that these divisive elements spread rampantly very quickly and shortly thereafter. I would say the same thing. You can see this in what's happening with all the infighting and on the dissident right now, and also stemming from the Charlie Kirk assassination and the Candace Owens investigation. And the truth be told, I might make fun of Candace Owens on my show, but the reality is she is still significantly closer to me in my positioning than Ben Shapiro, and I would even argue Matt Walsh and individuals like that. And so what ends up happening is you do see these injections occur where next thing you know, we're spending time attacking Candace Owens when it's like, maybe I disagree with who she thinks, actually assassinated Charlie Kirk, but that might be the extent of which what I disagree with, right? Now, maybe you find her crazy and whatnot, but ultimately, I do think elements like you can see written in public, posted in public by the Heritage Foundation with Project Esther, you can read for yourself. They intentionally do these things under the guise of going after something like terrorism, or under the guise of trying to, unveil a deeper rooted hatred of something or some people. And every single time you see people fall for it. And next thing you know, we're spending hours and hours and hours covering the drama between this pundit and this pundit. And no one's actually talking about the actual policies and things that are happening on the ground. And to me, it's just more of the same. They've done it then, they do it today, and people still fall for it.
Absolutely. Am I echoing on your end? Hold on. One second.
Sound good to me.
Go ahead and lead us into the next one if you don't mind. Let me try and fix it. I'm trying to get it pulled up because I'm not going to be able to. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, let me stop sharing this one.
Test it.
Let me share.
All right, I'll mute that.
This is probably maybe the big one. I think if you look up just John Kirakou, that's funny. I like that angle. If you look up just Kirakou, like the top result you get is this clip. So this is kind of maybe like the most significant one, and the one that probably, if you heard about Kirakou yesterday, you more than likely probably saw this clip in particular. And so I'm going to go ahead and share it right now. Make sure I share the correct audio as well.
Still sharing. Or did I delete?
Dang, isn't that tiny? My screen's that small. All right, you ready?
Yeah, go ahead and play it. I'll fix it. Still no. What if the audio is on my end because you're screen sharing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Is audio not working again?
Yeah, I don't even know how to fix audio from this position.
It's a shorter clip. I mean, we have the quotations here. We don't have to actually play it. See, you're getting all the issues I was dealing with yesterday.
Gay.
Yeah. But I'll read some of these captions while I was working on that. So these are some of the quotes just pulled from this 1.5-minute clip here. Former CIA officer John Kirakou, quote, "The FBI had identified 187 Mossad agents in the United States not declared to the U.S. government." He goes on, "We give them 99% of our defense secrets. They're here to steal the last 1%. Then he continues, "The Israelis are not friends of the United States." And so you kind of compare and contrast, again, the language from this, and then also looking at what he was doing when he's playing defense for the CIA. And when you see that, you're beginning to get this kind of idea in your head that, once again, same thing that I find to be true of Tucker. Well, Tucker maybe less so. I think he's kind of getting closer to the ball every day. But other individuals like Dave Smith and, the containment right, people who will agree with all of your arguments against Israel, against everything about Israel, the government, Netanyahu, but that's where it stops. And what you can't do and what you're not allowed to say and what they will disagree with you is that some of this is tied to a pattern of behavior that's tied and connected to an ethnicity or an ethno-religion, if you will. And that's kind of where, for many people in this space, that's where the ball has been stopping. And to me, that kind of highlights this kind of strong resistance to allowing the traditional Christian perspective of Jews to come back into the fold. And I think, again, there's so many of these things that are connected between Christianity, Israel, Jews, Jewish nature, the nomadic state. And you also think about, too, like, one of the reasons that helps allow these things to take place is you got to think about your average church experience. And the average wealth of knowledge of the average Christian. And this is me in no way trying to attack Christians. I love Christians. I am a Christian. But my critique is the fact that a lot of churches and a lot of people throughout their upbringings of Christianity do not get a robust and comprehensive understanding of the historical context that go along with what actually occurred while Jesus walked this earth. And in a lot of places, you'll get maybe more of a gospel-centric kind of theme where they omit a lot of things, right? And I find that to be wrong. I think if you go to church, you need to get the front to back. Everything needs to be talked about. But part of the reason why I'm saying this is because Christians don't even understand. For a lot of the premillennial dispensationalists, they don't even know or realize that there's such a thing as post-mill. They don't even know that there's other foundational differences in their beliefs. They might know Catholic and Orthodox. They don't understand for the average person is they don't even know that their kind of version of the religion didn't even start until like the early 1900s. And can you imagine the average experience if you told somebody, hey, you believe in like the newest sect of religion? And they go, wait, I'm not a Mormon. You go, no, but you're kind of like the step before that, right? Premillennial dispensationalism was widely rejected in the onset of history. And you are here promoting that here, in like 1900 years later, after when it was actually initially rejected. And so I think for a lot of people, it's a lot to think about. It's a lot. But when you don't know these truths and you don't have the basis down, people can say whatever they want about Jews. And you're just like, I guess, because you don't have the understanding of what they are and are able to connect those dots.
Side note, dude, now that you're saying, I think Mormonism is older than this new dispensationalism that
I think it is.
That's weird to think about, right? I mean, their positioning is that literally everybody prior to 1800 is going to hell because they were racist. I'm gonna pull this up. See if you can play it now. See if the audio will play through now. No.
Cool. You hearing it?
Nope. Can you? Okay. Nah, it's not gonna work. I don't.
You want me to pretend I'm John?
Clip? Yeah. Can you read it? Yeah. Go ahead.
I did read these ones. Yeah. It's the FBI identified 187 Mossad agents in the U.S. not declared to the government. He goes on, another quote here, we give them 99% of our defense secrets.
Bomb in Israel. I might be able to pull that one up. Hold on.
Oh yeah, you see the bottom one, the Israelis.
No, that's Alex Jones.
Yeah, the other one that we have here, the last clip, is the bombing Iran. And he references Israel threatening nukes.
All right, I can pull that one up. Let's do that one. At least I think I can.
Question of the day.
I shouldn't laugh because it's not funny. It's actually quite dangerous. And I'll tell you, one of the things that bothers me the very, very most is that the Christian community here in the United States...
Time out. I mean, I haven't picked up on it before. Maybe it's just this podcast that he's on, or maybe it's the mic or the setup or something. Bro is giving me gay vibes hard right here. Which, I mean...
yeah.
He successfully played a gay dude against gay dudes, so...
He more than likely is, dude. Let's be honest.
Aren't all feds gay?
I shouldn't laugh because it's not funny. It's actually quite dangerous. And I'll tell you, one of the things that bothers me the very, very most is that the Christian community here in the United States should be up in arms over things like this. The Israelis have essentially wiped out the indigenous Christian community in Israel, in the West Bank, and in Gaza.
Well, 2 weeks ago, they just burned down one of the oldest Christian settlements the Jewish settlers did.
That's exactly right. They burned it down, and they destroyed St. Porphyrios church in Gaza, the oldest continually operating Christian church anywhere in the world. And what, we're not permitted to complain about that? It doesn't make sense.
So where do you see this going? And looking at the Trump administration, because I know you're down.
When was this episode?
This
with
was
Alex Jones.
This was last year.
Yeah, I'm trying to look
last year, but it fell outside of the initial search, so it's older than a year.
Okay, but it's still relatively new. I mean, we all know that Alex Jones is very much bought and paid for now post Sandy Hook. I don't know anyone that denies that. There was some people on the fence prior to But at this point, it's like Alex Jones is definitely owned, and so that's I guess if you started off some of this this podcast generational run from Kirakou and Alex Jones is on the leading edge of it. It's like, okay, what are we doing here?
Right. Alex Jones, whose son is Christian, despite Alex not having a strong relationship with it. And then Kirakou's wondering why Christians aren't opposing these churches being bombed in Israel. And I'm not here to say like, oh, that's anything good by any means. It's terrible. But is that really the basis of which Christians should oppose Israel? That's the basis of which Christians should oppose Jews. It's coming from a place where he's speaking to people who he knows don't understand and don't have a grasp over the whole history. That's how I know your containment.
Again, it's the denial that they are a monolith, right? A people can't bomb churches. It has to be Israel, right? I think that's the last ditch effort, is to create separation, right? Everybody talks about the uniparty. They say uniparty, but what they really mean is globalists. They say globalists. What they really mean is Frankists. They say Frankists. What they really mean is Zionists. They say Zionists. What they really mean is Chicoms, right? We could just go on down the list infinitely, right? But at the end of the day, it all leads back to the same thing. Yep. Right? It's just a workaround. It's just and it'd be different if they were like using that as an intentional euphemism, but they're not. They're using it as it's supposedly intended to be used when they are a monolith, and pawning it off on Israel I think is the end play. Pawning it off on specifically Bibi Netanyahu is the end play.
I completely agree with you, which is why I was going to bring up all of the independent, like people don't even understand this, but Israel's trying to build their own independent arms industry. And I think that is the play. I think the play is that they are ultimately going to have to move to that Israel is maybe not in the form of like decoupling entirely, but they've clearly made many statements to that. And even Donald Trump said, no, please, we don't want to end your partnership after 10 years. But I do think this is going to be an attempt to prevent the diaspora that is here, the Jewish Americans that are here, from also being targeted. I do think this is, again, and when you got to think about like that too, which is like if they're willing to allow Israel and Bibi Netanyahu to fall into the wayside and open itself up to this maybe more of a massive decoupling, then what really are they protecting? What remains that they are really trying to ensure it's not actually being touched and attacked? And you look at it, and the only thing left on the table is Jewish behavior, just the ethnicity, the ethno-religion, and the positioning it has and the contrast it has to Christianity. It's like that's like there's only like a couple of things left anymore. And so I would expect that'll be the development as we move forward, is I was watching as, Elon Musk will invest for whatever reason, some military contracts into Israel, and they're going to build their own arms industry. And I think all of this is in an attempt because they're expecting in the next few years, ultimately, when it becomes so at critical mass, there's no way they'll be able to get the American people to support it without doing things that'll be too obvious and it'll give up the game. And so I think this is them cutting the leg off to save the body.
Yeah, possibly. I could see that. What I see happening more so is through the Board of Peace, right? The Board of Peace is not governed by anybody. Donald Trump is a chairman for life. The Board of Peace is utilizing things like FIFA. What does FIFA have to do with world peace or world war? Because that's essentially what we're getting from it, right? We had the inaugural Board of Peace meeting, conference, speech, whatever you want to call it, and it's like, hey, we're going to war with Iran if they don't jump on board. And so that's what we're dealing with. It's like I don't even know if Israel needs to build like arms. Yeah, I mean, maybe they want it in house, but it's like, do they need it? I mean, they have so many other avenues to just pull from, right? If we're looking at the Board of Peace, and then it's like, okay, we don't need the UN, we don't need oversight from the EU, we don't need congressional approval, we don't need the American people to vote on it. I mean, go all the way down the list. And so, I mean, that's just in the realm of weapons. That's not even talking about the algorithms and the information war that's going to be going on too.
Right. And Wyatt covered pretty, at length. Dan Kane, when it was the Daily Mail, I believe it was the Daily Mail, had published, I think it was it was the WAPO, had published, I think, the exclusive article of him highlighting how bad America was, or the United States is, on munitions. And the fact that we've basically had our resources drawn out between Ukraine and our multitude of defenses of Israel and the ongoing defense that's happening in the Red Sea from like the proxy forces. And what they write in there is, these two very important missile systems, you have the THAAD, right, the thermal high altitude. You also have the Patriot missile systems, both of which are heavily sought after by all of the different warfares ongoing. And part of the reason is because of the best interceptors that, that money can buy. The only issue, though, and I think this does tie into the independent arms element, is the fact that one of the quotes in that article talked about how for every one of these missiles that's fired, it takes the United States 2 years to replace it. And so the expectation, and you got to think about it too, part of the reason why Dan Kane was warning, or at least providing some of these options to the president in this kind of bigger meeting that was, it's not really being touched upon, was his fear that because the Arabs have already decided they will not allow the United States to use their airspace, that his fear was that how drawn out this conflict may be, because if they're going to have to launch everything off of airstrike carriers, they're going to have to do it in a lot more of a tight manner to protect people and be a bit more conservative, which ultimately would drag things out. And I think if they're looking at that, and then if we're also going to be in a full-blown conflict with Iran, at the same time still defending Israel from the other forces that exist out there, while also still participating in supporting Ukraine against Russia, there does present itself something on the table where you may be in a position where the United States may have to drastically pull out of somewhere. I doubt the United States drastically pulls out of Israel. So I'd expect to see something like that happening with Ukraine. But again, this is kind of all pending on the element of what's to come. And I do think everyone's still kind of waiting for when are we going to get the news that Iran has been struck. And I think, some chaos could come out about that. I think a lot of people, and when you read a lot of this military, the reporting, there does seem to be this larger fear that people are really underestimating just how drastic the scale of this will be compared to the other forever wars. And so I am kind of curious, what really is the kind of sentiment from the States, and and how much of what we're getting is kind of just to appease the masses until they decide what they want to
do. Atlas, we're going to war, boys. We're going to war. That's what's happening.
Yep.
I guess let's try and pull it back in, and we'll go ahead and kind of finish it up here on this last segment, if you don't mind. If you can pull up that last tweet, what was it with Lord Miles? Pull the last tweet with Lord Miles, and dude,
yes.
you didn't go over this one yet, have you?
Which one?
With the
one on screen.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Is that Lord Miles one?
No, this is the Lord Miles one. Hold on.
Yeah, let's just take a look at that one and read it.
This is one that we did at the beginning, just to show you, like, he's laying this defense for the CIA.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I believe that's all. Is that all of them? Did we get through all of them?
It's this third one here.
What am I missing?
He references talking about bombing Iran.
Is that the
but
one
we can just look at this quote here, really. I'll share this one instead. This quote here. He says, the reason Donald Trump decided to bomb Iran during the 12-day war was that the Israelis said for the first time, if you don't bomb Iran to take out these debunkers, we're going to use nuclear weapons. And once again, Israelis, not Jews. It's just Israel. It's just those ones over there. It has nothing to do with all the grassroots support here in the States. It's those people over there, those desert people. You want to try to play it?
You can try. I don't think it's going to play audio. Yeah, no audio. All right, it's all good. That's that's all we needed. We get the gist. It's the same thing over and over and over again. Let's get this guy on some more podcasts to tell some more stories about how gay he was and how convincing of a gay man he was. It's like, I don't think I could pull that one off, Atlas. Right.
I
mean, you may be able to. I don't think I can. I'm just kidding.
That's funny. No, well, you think about some people, like they might not consume as much content as me and you, right? Like there's some days I watch like 3 different 2-hour shows all at once playing in the background somewhere. That's because that's just like how I'm moving. But for some people, maybe they only watch Sean Ryan's show once a week when it drops. And like, that's it. Maybe that's the only thing that they actually consume. And so I do think there's an element here where some people, when they hear Kirakou kind of give his assessment of Israel and Iran, for a lot of people who don't consume much, that's kind of like what will stick. That will become like their viewpoint. It's like what they heard from Kirakou, right? He's got the trust element. He's got the ethos of the former CIA operative. And so when they hear, when they see Candace is saying this, but then they see CNN saying this, but Ben Shapiro saying this, they hear this from John Kirakou and they go, oh, okay, everything makes a bit more sense now. And now they're more aligned with where Kirakou is at than anybody else in the space. And that's kind of what part of this, this element here of being this asset is. It's this audience capture. Containment, if you will, is kind of like where we get the definition of it from.
Well, I think that's a lot of what they attempted to do with Dan Bongino, right? Is to give him a place at the FBI for some period of months, not even a whole year, and then push him back out to get that credibility. I mean, it didn't really work. His numbers are dropping drastically, but that's because he just doesn't have the charisma that John Kirakou has. That who is the other guy? Andrew, the sniper with the long hair, mixed guy. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
These people.
What is his name, dude?
You're gonna make me look it up. I think Laura DM'd me earlier about him.
You said that earlier, and I couldn't think of who he was.
Bustamante, and so
yeah,
these people are. I mean, I know guys that know him personally, and the problem is, I mean, he seems like a solid dude. These guys, run with him, they're solid dudes. And so it's like, you never really know, but at the same time, it's like I always say, it's, at what point is it just like completely undercover, right? We're looking at this stuff from Erica Kirk and Candace Owens, and it's like they're generational spies. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, how long, somebody said Zeb knows all the feds. Listen, I know all the feds. That's why when I say everyone is a fed except me, you need to believe me. It's not tongue in cheek. It's not tongue in cheek. Everyone is a fed except me because I know all the feds.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that is funny.
Where's the somebody put a target on my face?
But that's but that's kind of the key, right? Which is you say generational spy, like here's the challenge. I'm gonna present to you a random black guy from Brooklyn, and I need you to explain to him that Erica Kirk was a generational spy, and this is the prototypical methodology of Mossad. And have them not think that you're crazy. So like that's the challenge, right?
Well,
this is where it comes into play.
That's exactly it, though. It's the same. It's the same extract that we try to apply to Jews, right? It's like they call it a conspiracy, and yeah, it is a conspiracy. Is it a theory? I don't think it's a theory anymore. It's just been proven throughout history. I mean, we have like 6,000 years of documented evidence of these people doing exactly what they're claiming that they're doing. But then when you bring it up, it's like, nah, they would never do that. It's like, at what point in history in the last 6,000 years were they not doing that? Like show me where they weren't a monolith. Obviously they were for 4,000 years prior to Christ, up until him. Obviously they were at the time of Christ and on through that to an extent up until what? What are you going to say? I mean, you say Spain was wrong. It's like, at least we can get to 1400, 1440s. At some point, did they just stop? They just decided in 1440, nah, we ain't going to do that no more. And then just pops up the Rothschilds to create this from grassroots. They created it from nothing. Like, that's something I don't get either. It's like they bootstrap themselves to the bank, and they just manufactured all this money out of thin air. It's like, no, that didn't happen. They're trying to say the same thing that happened. That's the same thing that happened with Epstein. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that. Gustav Ritten von Epstein is Jeffrey Epstein's like great grandfather. That's what he did. He is a Rothschilds-esque banker. He's the Nathan Rothschilds of the Epstein family, where they just magically created money because Napoleon had a bad year or something. It's like, don't give me that bullshit story. It's like, obviously they had a foundation somewhere. And if we're talking about the 1600s, that's like 100, 150 years removed from the European diaspora that they had not even that long ago. I mean,
well, here's the thing, though.
Give me a break, dude. Like, really? Like, I'm retarded. I ain't that retarded.
But the thing is, it's like these systems have been in place for a long time. Like it blows me away that like people don't understand like that Jews declared war on Hitler first.
Yeah.
And the reason why they had the confidence and ability to do so was because they, for one, they were at the time recently they had been kicked out of the financial systems, but because they owned everything else. They owned the shipping ports. They owned the shipping lanes. They owned the boat companies. They owned the companies that clean the boats companies. You could just go down the line. And this is what they were doing. This is, I try to direct people to Oons and read the Oons review. But some of the early positions they were taking to choke out Germany was a trade embargo. They were intentionally trying to prevent food from getting into Germany. And so much so, if you look at the numbers and you look at what would have been withheld had they been successful, people in Germany would have starved.
Well, that's what it is, though, right? That's how you win wars. That's how you win battles. Like, that's how they have conquered specifically unpenetrable castles. They starve them out. All it is theory and tactics at scale.
Right. And if
it is a war, whether they declare it or not, it is a war.
It most definitely is. And that's how they view it too, right? This is more so kind of we need to like use the Crowder argument, which I think Crowder had actually made a really good point. I don't know how much he believes it. But he made a great point the other day, which is talking about white identity. And he was like, the lens you have is not saying, I look at myself and I'm white. The lens you have is everyone else looks at me as I'm white. And who are the other people that all the other groups are looking at as white? And that's the lens you need to have, because that is important. This actually plays into policy. To act as if this kind of racialized lens isn't applied equally across the board, or to act as if the religious lens is not applied and not used to discriminate across people is insane. And that is kind of the important element. And that is how they view things. And it's not that there's anything Judeo-Christian. That's the part of the big lie. It's that they are completely 180 oppositional to Christianity. And they look and they view upon these peoples and these nations that do let Christianity proliferate, they view them negatively. And the bigger point here too is like, if they owned all that stuff back in like the 1930s, they sold it. What do you think happens when the rich have money? Do they get richer or they get poorer? Well, more often than not, they get richer.
Obviously, Atlas, obviously. And so, yeah, I mean, the money only flows one way. This system was, I don't think it was intentionally built that way, but the way that it was built was able to be utilized by an unethical people. And that's kind of what we're getting at here, is that, as Christians, we are a people that have shame, right? We are an ethical people, via religion, but I would also say via racially. And so that's what we're dealing with. It's like the issue with like Howard Lutnick right now, like what he did with his sons and buying out the tariff rebates is not illegal, but it's unethical, like extremely unethical. And I mean, what the Jews are doing in where Tyler Oliveira, the outing that he did in upstate New York and in New Jersey, both of those, it's not illegal, but it's extremely unethical and it's abusing the system. And so that's how this is how the Jew makes money. Quote Jeffrey Epstein.
Right. Well, what's crazy is, I thought there's been some great tweets floating out about
real
this.
Capitalism has never been tried.
Yeah, right. That's funny. But no, the point I was going to make was there wasn't much pushback. This is kind of the thing that maybe the notable thing I made a comment on in the video, and I'm probably going to publish it by 6 or 7, is that Tyler Oliveira didn't get this pushback as much as what we're seeing now in the first video he published about Nerlens Yule.
Yes.
But he's getting it now about the one that's happening in Jersey. And I can only assume, and again, the video had been posted for a hot minute.
But go ahead.
It was Shirley that set the firestorm. Good.
Why do you think he's getting the pushback now and not so much the first go round?
Well, I think for two reasons. I think for this one, I think he showed that he's a lot more oppositional. I think he showed a lot more of the flags, right? I think he had like goyim and good goy. Like he's using a bit more of the language. So I think it's a lot more obvious.
I haven't actually watched it. I've only seen clips so far, but go ahead. Sorry.
Word. Well, I was going to say, I think the reason why I think there's an extreme kind of firestorm about it is because of the Shirley element. And I think they were willing to let the Oliveira thing slide, but because Shirley entered in, this is the guy they all boosted just, a couple months ago about the Smalley. Now it makes them look bad. Why is Libs of TikTok thing reposting Shirley's Minnesota fraud, but she's silent, can't be found over both New York and New Jersey? Where's Elon Musk, who reposted Nick Shirley? Gone, can't be found,
50
nowhere, can't show up
in a day.
Yeah.
I would say, right? I would say the Nick Shirley element is a piece. I don't think it's Nick Shirley specifically, though it is in some aspect. But it's this idea of Nick Shirley. Like Nick Shirley is a moderate to an extent, or at least was perceived that way. And so if Nick Shirley is being persuaded by Tyler Oliveira's piece, then that means that there's a vast majority of quote unquote moderates that are also being persuaded. I also want to note that the two videos that he put out like a month ago was on a extremely religious sect of Jews that were doing basically the same thing that of the ones that he was doing recently that are less religious. And so I think their positioning is that Tyler understands, or at least that's being perceived this way, that that whether they are extremely religious, slightly religious, or secular, they are still Jews. And I think those in combination with each other, and if he goes out and finds some secular Jewish society, like run to Miami, you could probably find one.
Hey, Adam, where are you?
Yeah. Tyler, give me a call. I'll take a trip to Miami with you. We can go say hello to the Jews.
We'll play Heil Hitler in the club.
I'll shave my mustache.
Get out. That's funny.
But I think those in combination with each other is kind of created this snowball effect where it's like, okay, maybe it's not just the Talmudists. Maybe it's not just those with the big furry hats. Maybe it's the one with the little tiny hats also. Well, it definitely is. Okay, maybe it's the ones that don't have hats at all. They just short sell stocks prior to 9/11. And so.
Yeah. Well, and two crazy things that have come out about it, because I was doing a bunch of aggregating of this stuff earlier. The one is Tyler Oliveira responded to one of these guys. I don't know if he quote tweeted it or he just replied to it. But now they're pushing that, like the tweet he responded to is like, I'm hearing reports that Tyler Oliveira was harassing underage minors, and he was trying to harass and stalk these girls. Does anyone have any information about the girls that Tyler Oliveira was harassing and stalking? And he replied, and he was like, you people are shameless. I mean, and it's like everybody knows what you're trying to do. You're trying to poison the well. Wait, say what you said.
Chutzpah. They're shameless. Yeah. They just go out on a limb and say whatever they want to with no regret, no consequence. But yeah, you a little blood libel there, Atlas, with the poison the well.
Yeah,
that's what they do, dude.
It's just disgusting, And I think Laura Loomer and somebody else who was pretty big is now pushing that what the Jews are doing is fine. Like it's not the same thing as fraud. And we need to have a more nuanced approach of it because it's actually a welfare system. And because it's systematic, like you just like, Lord have mercy. This is the stupidest thing I've ever read. Because you're just watching as they will, there was no ends of the earth in which they will change their principles and positions to defend these people. And at this point, like you kind of sit here and you go, for anybody who's been in the space longer than 2 years, man, if you're not calling it out, like you just might as well not even speak. Because it's so obvious.
my mustache is crooked. I can't get it straight right now for some reason. I don't want to don't want to go. Anyway, it's raining outside. I have the doors wide open. I got double doors right here. It's raining outside. I don't know. You can't hear the rain, can you? Anyway, the humidity is messing my mustache up. Like a woman with a bad hair day. But I mean, we started this entire podcast talking about John Kirakou, and you know, I guess we're talking about the Fed circuit, and inevitably it's going to end up on Jews. That's where it's going to go. But you know, this is where the conversation always ends up. It's like, what's the bottom of the rabbit hole? Well, this is the bottom of the rabbit hole. At least, and I've hinted at this a couple times on my show. At least from a public positioning, right? The public positioning being, okay, the Rothschilds are at the top, George Soros is at the top. It's like those guys, but you know, there's a couple tiers above that you know, you aren't really allowed to dive into, because once you get there, then it is all theory. Like we can prove the Rothschilds family, we can prove the Epstein family, we can prove the Maxwell family, right? Once you get above that, you start talking about things that are just theory, and
I'm curious if we're going to get a John Kirakou statement. What does he feel about Tyler Oliveira's, anti-Semitic video?
Yeah, I think we should. I think I got a seat right here for John Kirakou. He can join me on my on his Fed circuit tour. He can join the Fed stop. But
yeah, in the scope with ZebBoykin.
Yeah, in the scope, dude. Tristan came up with that, and I was like, He wanted the first episode was going to be like about Erica Kirk, and I was like, that might be a little tough, dude. That might be a little tough one. So
yeah, well, it's almost like you're trying to manifest it, streaming the whole time with the reticle around your head. You're like, all right, we're doing this.
All right, let's go. But yeah, all right. I'll let you get to your video. We'll go ahead and close out here. If you want to close it out, or I can. Wow, it is coming down.
Yeah, well, I guess appreciate everybody for joining. We appreciate you guys greatly, and obviously, Zeb said it earlier, but your guys' support means everything. I know Laura's reached out to me. A few other people have reached out to me the last couple of days. We do appreciate it greatly. Especially for all the people who can catch mistakes and are noticing things that we miss. We appreciate that, and I'm sure Zeb can agree with me. A lot of the times, I end up sitting at my desk and 7 hours pass by, and I'm I literally haven't done 2 things I needed to because I'm worrying about some other thing that's making a mistake or some other kind of technical issue. So that stuff does help a lot, and we appreciate it. And obviously, we do this for you guys. We're trying to do this so we can help get the new American vision we would like to bring about. But that's all I basically have to say. Kirakou is containment. I would, he might be funny, he might not be the worst one, but he's definitely not our guy.
Yep, not our guy. I'm ZebBoykin. This is still crooked. Make it sharp real quick.
Perfect.
Let's finish on a good note. It needs more Jill. All right, Atlas. This is the circuit with ZebBoykin, and that is Atlas Thugged. Go find either one of us if you haven't already followed us on YouTube. We need to figure out this outro. Also, send us money. Memberships are open. Maybe we should do some. I don't know. I like streaming with Atlas. I think it's a good time. I've gotten some good feedback on the two of us, our dynamics. Our dynamics. I don't know.
Pause.
That sentence sounded weird. But
now Zeb's getting gay.
You're gonna be streaming. You streaming today?
Not streaming today. I'm finishing the video and I'm getting it posted. If I do have time, I'm going to stream later tonight, but that'd be closer to 8 or 9 p.m. I haven't decided yet.
Okay, I'm streaming at 9. So
I won't stream then.
You can. I'm doing a member stream. It's no issue. Member stream. I do member streamers on Thursday. So go check out Atlas's video, and then if you are a member on my channel, come find me. If you're not a member, come join. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Circuit. We will see you on the next stream. Later.
Take care.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us.
I was
And I thought you were a Fed.
I was a Fed.
Yeah. I'm not a Fed.
What about the USS Liberty?
No, you should be careful about that. It doesn't. Let me stop you there. It doesn't matter where the missile comes from.